All right, thanks for joining to the last presentation that you'll have to hear from me this semester. In regards to biomarkers, biomarkers are of highly interest to me because I believe it's the next phase in a true analysis of moving the running research from indoor to outdoor. And why I say that is there needs to be a quantifiable measure relating some sort of peripheral components of fatigue that we can relate to the changes in our mechanical variables that biomechanists love to analyze from gait patterns. Um, so I'm really interested and I hope I share with you some really fun research that I found along this process because I'm truly excited about how this has turned out. Um, but let's begin by talking about fatigue and fatigue is a component that is very complex, and that's because it's multifaceted. We throw the word fatigue around a lot, but we truly don't understand what the underlying mechanisms of fatigue when we talk about it from a whole body perspective. What does that mean? Well, that means that fatigue can come from mental disorders. It could be derived from the central nervous system, and it could be from peripheral components. Um, the true definition of what fatigue is it's just a decrease in a force or the power or some sort of exercise intensity. Um, so there's a wide range, right? So this definition has a strength component to it. It has a temporal component, and then it also has that excitability component of the contractile activity. So it's not only derived from multiple components, but it's in reference to multiple outputs. Exercise intensity could discuss a percentage of VO2 max not being able to be maintained or not being able to put your proper force on a pedal for an extended period of time. Those are all components of this, or not being able to stay on rhythm with the metronome through a step count. Now, the key is, can I be able to identify what aspect of the body this comes from if I don't go in more in depth? And this is the argument that we have is, now, is there a better way to determine or to identify what we're talking about? And I'm going to argue there is. Um, I'm going to say if we want to go to a more localized effect of fatigue, let's describe what it is instead of the fatigue. Let's talk about what we want to measure. So if I'm worried about oxidative stress, let's talk about oxidative stress. If I'm worried about localized peripheral skeletal muscle damage, let's refer to it as that. Or if we want to talk about just the neuromuscular function at the peripheral, let's talk about that. If we talk about fatigue, we're opening up the gamut to include all components of this multifaceted complex issue. And those bring into play any central nervous system, or any time that when you're running and you think about something else and something changes, that could also be a concept of fatigue. So it's our hesitation, and we use this quite a bit in our lab, is instead of using the term fatigue, talk about what exactly is it you're talking about. And in our case, and for the rest of this presentation, we're actually going to talk about localized skeletal muscle damage. And then we're going to also talk about a little bit of the neuromuscular function, because these are all components that come into play with the biomarkers as well, and which ones we want to identify.